We're gonna start sewing the inseam and the outer seam all the way down. And after you do the regular seam, you're gonna serge each seam for a cleaner finish. I'm sewing the outseam and the inseam at 1/2 inch. After I'm done serging the side seams of the pant leg, I'm just gonna go ahead and also serge the hem. So now that we sewed and serged the side seams, we also serged the hems. We're now going to sew the crotch seams together and then also serge it right after. So in order to sew the crotch seams together, right now both of the leg pants are inside out. We're going to take one leg pant and have the right side out, and we're going to put that leg pant that's right side out into the other one. And now you should have the right side facing the right side. So now we're going to sew the crotch seam together, and then right after we're gonna do a serge seam. And now it's time for the waistband, which is my favorite part of this project. So first I have to prep my bobbin with my elastic thread, which you can't put this on the machine bobbin winder. It's gonna do it too tight. So you have to do it by hand. And for this one, I'm just using a white elastic thread, but there's also different colors you can use for the elastic, but I don't have green and you're not gonna see it anyway. But if you do want a cleaner finish on the inside, you can get an elastic thread that matches your fabric as well. So I'm gonna start hand winding it, and I want to just gently, without tugging, wrap it all the way around. Okay, so I don't want to overdo it. I don't know if you can see. I just want to give it a light tug to make sure that nothing's like all tangled in there. And then I'm going to bring the bottom thread up, which is usually what you do on most machines, but on this machine, you don't have to do that. Usually it picks it up from the bottom itself, it's automatic. But when you're using an elastic thread, you have to bring the bobbin thread up. So I have my bobbin thread up above, and now I'm ready to go. I wanna make sure that my stitch is at its widest. Now, when I'm sewing this, I want to make sure I backstitch. If you don't backstitch, then your elastic thread is just gonna pull through and catastrophe. You're gonna be doing all this work for nothing. So I try to not do it right at the edge because that edge is gonna be serged, and I always get worried that the backstitch is gonna be cut off, and I'm not sure if the serge itself is gonna hold the elastic. So I always kind of try to do it near where the seam line is. Now, when I'm sewing, I want to make sure that I'm keeping the fabric stretched out. And we're just going to stitch that all the way down.
Look at
that it's so beautiful. Now we're coming to the edge, and remember, we don't want it to end right at the edge, because again, if you're serging it, it might cut that lock where the elastic thread is. So I'm gonna just do it right beforehand. And now you have your first row. So now we're gonna do our next row, and again, remember to bring that bottom thread up. Like right now, it's not coming up, which is okay. We're just gonna take the bobbin case out, and as you can see, because my machine is an automatic, it cuts the thread, and it probably cut it when it was stretched out, and now it's too short for it to even come up. If you have an automatic, I recommend you turn off the automatic back stitching, especially if your machine cuts your thread for you. It's gonna be easier, and I'm gonna show you why. So if your thread is too short, obviously you're just gonna pull it a little bit more. I'm gonna dip it and just lightly give it a tug and pull it back out. And now we're gonna do our next row. So dip it in right before that seam line. Make sure you backstitch, pulling your fabric sew all the way down. So I'm going to manually backstitch, and then I'm going to lift my needle and gently pull it out of the machine. This way I can keep my elastic thread at the top, safe and sound, and I'm ready to go on my next row without having to take the bobbin case out and whatnot. I'm gonna sew mine 1/4 of an inch apart all the way down. You can also do 1/2 inch. Obviously if you do 1/4, it's gonna take more elastic thread, but because this is a little thicker than my previous pant, I want it to really gather at that waist. I have one more row to do, and I'm really hoping this thread is enough for it, because it'll be my last one. So the band is done now. And now, so I really love this part, but we're gonna take it to the iron, and we're just gonna steam it a little bit. So I'm not gonna press. So after we're done with the elastic, we're going to serge the top. When you're serging the top, make sure you pull the waistband while you're serging, and just serge it all the way down. So after I serge the top of the waistband, I'm gonna go ahead and fold the waistband in half and then sew down the side. So after we sewed the side, we're just gonna go ahead and serge it. I would recommend not serging it too close to the stitch line, because we don't want to cut the elastic back stitches that we did. So now the waistband is sewn at the side seam. Now we're going to put the thicker elastic at the edge of this. I'm going to sew it right along the serge line, and then we're gonna fold it. So now we're gonna sew the thicker elastic to the top of the waistband just to give it more support. To measure this, you're just going to take the elastic and measure it right at your waist. And you just want it a little tight. You don't have to make it so tight, but of course that's your choice. Marking it, and I'm gonna make sure to add an inch for seam allowance. So half inch on both sides. Now that my elastic is cut, we're gonna sew it right at the edge on the inside on the serge, like this. So now with my elastic I'm going to join the ends. I'm gonna make sure that nothing is folding while I'm doing that. And then I'm going to sew it down. I like to do it this way sometimes, especially when the elastic is thin. Now that we sewed our elastic, we're going to divide it in 4 sections. So we already have our first, so this will land on the side seam. We're going to fold this in half so we can get the other side seam marked. And now we're going to divide this from the center. And it doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to get a good idea. So now we have 4 markings. So now what we're going to do, we're going to divide the waistband into 4 sections as well. So we already have 1 as our side seam. So we're going to get the other side seam marked. And then we're going to fold this in half. You can also measure if you want, but again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So now I have 4 sections marked. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to match up the 4 sections on the elastic band to the 4 sections on the waistband. And when you're doing this, make sure the elastic isn't twisting, otherwise you're going to have to rip it all out again. I'm going to pin it right at the edge where the serge is. Now we have all 4 sides pinned down. We're going to flip this inside out to make it easier to sew. And we're going to sew while stretching the waistband out. So I'm going to start at our original side seam. I'm going to sew a little bit behind that needle. And I'm just going to sew down the middle of the elastic. So now that I got my needle in, I'm going to hold my next marking and stretch it out and sew as I go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to fold where that elastic is, and while stretching it out, we're going to sew it down. So I fold and I'm putting my first stitch down. I'm folding and then I'm going to stretch the waistband out, and then I'm going to sew down at 1/4 of an inch. Because it looks really scary and small, I just want to show you that even with jeans, I can get it over comfortably. And this is how it looks so far. And I like that it feels very sturdy, and I know it's not going to slip off my body. And the elastic at the top really helps it to like snatch in. Now it's just time to attach the pants to the waistband. We're going to do the same thing we did when we were attaching the elastic. We're going to divide the bottom of this into 4 sections. We want to make sure that the side seam of the waistband matches up with the side seam of the pants. We divided the waistband into 4 sections, so we're gonna match it up to the 4 sections on the pant. I'm gonna flip my pants inside out. I'm gonna turn my waistband right side in. So it's right side, wrong side. First, I'm going to match where the serge is to one of the side seams. It doesn't matter which one. After you have the 4 points pinned down, we're going to take it to the machine and stretch it out while we sew. So now we attach the waistband to the pant, and if it looks okay, we're just going to go ahead and serge all the way around. So the waistband is sewn. If you want, you can add another elastic gathering at the edge of the bottom here, but you don't have to. So after you sew everything together and serge it, you can also top stitch this down so the inside isn't flapping around. So we're at our last step until we're done. Now we're going to hem the pants, and the full hem seam allowance is 1 inch. So basically we're going to flip the serge seam, and then we're going to flip again. It's going to be a total of ½ inch of a hem roll. If you want to do more, that's okay. Of course, if you're shorter, you might want to do a full inch, 2 inches. That's totally up to you. So I folded it at a total of ½ inch. And now I'm just going to sew it down right along the edge. So one pant leg is all hemmed, and now we're going to do the other side, and then we're going to be done. Now this is totally optional, but just to make it easier to know what's the back and front of the pant, you could put a little label or a little fabric piece at the back center. For me, I'm gonna put my own little label because I made these pants. So I'm gonna find the center, and I'm just going to stitch it right on. I'm gonna stitch it on to where the elastic is. So make sure you're just kind of stretching it out as you sew if it's long, just so you're not taking away the stretchiness of the waistband itself. And now it'll still keep its stretch.